Go ahead.
You
Go
are.
ahead. I'd like to welcome everybody to the December meeting of the Cemetery Commission. Absent is Steve, our chairman, who was home quite ill. So prayers to you, Steve, and public service announcement. Only 11 shopping days till Christmas. So we're calling the meeting to order at 9 o'clock, and we want to welcome Amy Bullock, our town treasurer here, who is first on the agenda
Thank you.
to discuss investments in our perpetual care fund. So,
Well, as you probably are aware, I am leaving in 3 weeks, so I've been reluctant to do a whole lot of banking changes, but Robin and I did discuss opening up a CD, so I just need to know kind of how much of your 446,000 you would like to put in there. I will contact banks when I get back to the office and find out what the rates are. Let Robin know. And
so Robin printed out rules for investments in trust funds. Where do we fit in on that?
you are in a savings bank currently.
Where are we allowed to be?
Savings bank, a trust.
Well, because there's co-located trust fund deposits, so I imagine the town must have more than that. Does that elevate us to a institutions, or are we limited to investing only through a bank?
Well, I think, most of the trust, we do have Rockland Trust, but that's a bank also, but we do have a lot of our trust funds with them. Library trusts are all with Rockland.
Okay.
And
All right.
what are they?
But they aren't, it's not a CD, it's an actual trust investment account. And the CDs, over the past year, they did okay. The trusts did not.
Well,
They are
but that's a
excuse me.
factor of the market.
They are coming back now, exactly,
Right,
exactly.
so you run that risk, but investing in a bank CD, you're gonna pay, well, I won't name any banks, but you're not even gonna break 2% on a 2-year CD.
They are now.
Well,
They are now, yeah.
but I
I've
mean,
got a
you can go to
15 months now
Fidelity.
that's 3.5, yeah.
Yeah, so if you
Yeah.
go, but now you're tying up the money and you're still
Right.
losing on inflation. So before we pull the trigger on just
On
throw
a
it into a
CD.
CD, which
Yeah.
is still better than nothing,
Right,
but now you're tied to whatever the term of the CD is. I'd
Yeah.
almost rather know all the options.
Yeah.
Because the size of our trust fund, you're going to exceed the FDIC $250,000 limit if you put it all into one.
right.
Could we divide it in half?
Well, see, that's the problem. If everything is at Rockland, which I have zero problem with that.
Yeah.
Great bank.
Yeah.
But 250,000 is insured. The next 240,000, if my math is right, is not insured. So you would have to split, unless we did the trust option, where you branch out into a dividend mutual fund
Right.
that is providing dividends and the potential for growth. And you would want to, this is
Yep.
basic financial planning, but I just don't think we should pull the trigger and just throw it into a CD.
Okay.
We can put some of it in a CD if the rate's good enough. So the town does not have a specific relationship with one institution. Are we tied back? I can't find anything written anywhere.
As far as trusts, everything is with Rockland right now. We do have CDs and money market accounts with a bunch of other banks, but right now, as far as trusts, it's all Rockland. And the more money they have there, in that investment portfolio, the better our rates get. So
What about
that's
fees from
There-
having somebody manage this?
right. There are fees involved. Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what their basis point is on the fees right now. I'd have to ask them.
But if that's,
But I can send an email to them also and, find out if you put, an X amount of money in there, what would the fees be? What would your return hopefully be? And it is coming back now.
well, we're in uncharted territories
Yeah.
because, if you wanted to be ultra conservative, you would put it all in bonds.
Yeah.
Because now you're guaranteed to get your money back, and it is perpetual care, so you want to be able to get that money back. But
Yeah.
as you stick money in a bond fund right now, you're losing money.
Right,
Especially
right.
if the rates keep come
Right.
up, and they're meeting right now,
Yeah.
so we don't know.
Yeah.
So should we have her look into it, and then maybe we can have a quick, even if it's like a go-to-meeting thing, or like in
Yeah,
a week
that-
from now, because we're under the gun with your
Right.
days, and then
Yeah.
Right.
God knows when a new person comes on, how long that
And,
will take.
and there's nobody
Right,
in the
yeah,
office to
yeah,
slide
you probably
in.
want to make a move before that, because that person, we don't even know who it's gonna be or how long it's gonna be
Yeah.
until somebody's in place, and they're gonna have a lot of other
Yeah,
things on
learning
their plate.
curve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, this would be
So, yeah, I think you'd wanna do something sooner
to
rather
get the
than later,
research
yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Did you learn anything at your conference?
No, most of the people are doing trusts, so I did ask and talk to them. We had a financial breakout section during, and a lot of people were doing trusts. Some people were doing CDs, but the majority of them were doing trusts.
Yeah, I mean, I've got money in CDs now because, like, sure, you're gonna pay me 4.8% for 2 years and give me my money back? Okay.
Right,
And monthly?
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah.
And like I said in that email, I don't know if I sent it to everybody. I mean, just doing the math on $460,000 in just 2 years, you would grow by whatever it was I said in the email. So
Like 20,000.
yeah, it's which we're not really doing now. So
Yeah.
so I think that's the backup plan.
Okay.
If we could get a really good. I mean, I actually looking at the Fidelity numbers yesterday for their brokered CDs, even a 1-year ladder would buy us time to see what happens, because every 3 months you're going to buy a new one. That just didn't solve the FDIC insurance, which I think we're probably obligated to. It would be foolish not to.
Are you working next Tuesday?
Yes, yeah, I do have something, a meeting, I forget what day, what time on
Yeah.
Tuesday,
I mean,
but I do have something.
You could just
And
send it. We could be any time of the day because
Yeah.
we could all just log in.
Oh,
Yeah.
do a
Oh,
go-to
yeah,
meeting?
Yeah. Just do a quick go to meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe Steve will be feeling better. I mean, I'd feel better if all of us were
Right.
Yeah.
making that decision.
Yes.
But if we don't go with the trust, then we're gonna have to quickly get their advice too, because that would be foolish to
Yeah.
rely on, my knowledge,
Yeah.
which is
Pretty good.
not investor. No. Pilot, remember that, pilot.
I'm actually gonna see them all too on Thursday, so,
Okay,
I'll send them an email today, and then, we can have further discussion about it on
that'd be great.
Thursday.
That would be great. And then
Yeah,
I
we'll
will.
get together
What I'll
and
do
do
is I'll send you later today. You can give me a time, and then I can
Okay, yeah,
send
I'll
something
look at my
over to
calendar.
Emily to set up a
Actually-
go to meeting.
I can probably look at my calendar right now. Just so you know. You said Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be the 20th. Oops. Oh, 11, and that won't be long, so any other time after that, or before or after.
Yeah, they like kind of morning.
Okay.
Is 9 good for everybody?
Sounds fine.
Sure.
9 works
So
for
we'll
me.
call it temporary right now until we hear officially.
Yep. Perfect.
Awesome.
We'll let you go back to work.
Okey-doke.
We know you got to do
Really,
a lot
thanks
of
for
stuff.
coming.
I do.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Amy.
the insight, Amy, thank you.
Sure thing.
All right, so next item, we have Jim, our cemetery foreman, hiding in the back.
Come on up to the table, Jim.
Sorry, Jim, she insisted. I feel your pain. Let's find out where we are.
So keep going.
One more.
So I just sent him an email. It's just an email that
Oh,
says, if you could attend, so that we could discuss anything that you, he did review our new rules and regulations, which I think is gonna benefit him a lot, especially with all the extra cleanup stuff. We did have a public hearing for people to come in, and the two people who actually addressed, there was 3 people that addressed, but the 2 people that addressed issues we're both unanimously in support of not letting fake flowers or any of those mylar balloons or anything like that on the graves. And I think that they'll probably go back to their groups of people. And most of them are in the conservation type area.
Okay.
So they don't want it because it blows onto the conservation land and stuff like that. But it also makes a lot of mess for you to clean up. And I'm trying to think anything else that pertains to the rules that, did you have any input? Do you think it's?
I do have some concerns and or questions.
Okay.
In regards to, I think the rules are very well written. I think they're very clear. I don't know, where does the enforcement aspect come in?
So after they're passed at town meeting, then what I'll have to do is we'll probably have to make a couple of announcements, like at Board of Selectmen meetings, and then maybe do these rules were recently passed. We might have to put an ad in probably the Chronicle to let people know that the new rules have passed, and that we will be removing stuff that are not within the regulations. I also try to reach out to some of the frequent flyers that we know of that are totally abusing the rules and regulations anyways, to let them know that the stuff will be removed. So, I mean, we'll give them a lot of warning in advance so that they can take their things home, so you don't have to take them all back to the DPW and then have them come down there and rummage through and get them.
Right.
But we'll try to do as much outreach as possible. It will be probably 3 or 4 different ways we'll do
Yeah, and I
outreach.
think after a honeymoon period, I think to share the pain, all of us can
Yeah,
drive around and make note of the site and
Yeah.
pack it up, so it's just not all on you guys to have to do that, and
There's really only a few bad apples, so to speak,
Yeah.
in all of the graves that
as
are
they say,
around.
known to
Yeah.
law enforcement.
yeah. So most of them, and most people after, if I see them in the cemetery and they're doing, putting excessive stuff, I usually say something. And they're usually pretty good for the most part after that. So I think it's only a few. But that being said, we want to make sure that they're all notified so that it doesn't have backlash on us.
Right.
Not that you don't have enough on your plate, but could we have a little flyer made that we all could have with us, since we frequent the cemetery, including you guys?
Yeah.
Just a little folder in the truck somewhere. And if we see this and somebody confronts,
Yeah,
it covers the dogs,
yeah,
and it covers inappropriate, disallowed gravesite
Decoration
paraphernalia.
Yeah.
And it has the rule and the why.
Right.
And then we go, look, really, really sorry, we truly appreciate, how your family is mourning, et cetera, but we have
Yeah.
these for a reason,
right.
That'd be great, and we can
Yeah.
just hand that out, and they'll either roll it in a ball and throw it at us,
Right.
or, and then we could call them for littering.
Yeah, right.
I do, you hit the nail on the head. People grieve different ways,
Right.
and you have an old military buddy, and you go and you toast them with a nip, but then 12 nips are around the stone, and now they're blowing, and,
Yeah, there's no alcohol.
right, but,
But
they're there.
Yeah, we know.
totally get that, but take it with you.
Right,
You
right.
know?
Right. So, I do have a question, I guess it could be correlated to the rules. Is there a way that I could be notified when you guys approve someone to plant shrubbery or small trees?
Yeah.
Because we come upon them and I'm like, was that
Yeah.
approved, or did they just go, oh, nobody's here, I'll plant it? And we're like,
Okay.
whoa, there's a tree where we used to be able to fit a
Oh, we just exercised that the other day.
Right.
So great job on the stones that you put at Harwich, where am I? Harwich Avenue
Yeah,
South
I actually took pictures.
in Island Pond.
Jim took pictures and sent them
Because-
to me. So,
Yeah.
so this was the work order that I put in. I had gone to a funeral on that Saturday, previous to that, and somebody had driven over one of the memorials and cracked it, which then I took pictures and went up to Crosby's. Ironically, the guy's stone, he was a cemetery commissioner for
Oh, wow.
10 years. So, I don't know if anyone can see, but they have now placed stones so that they can't drive off the road and onto where people are buried. So,
It's good.
it came out, although my
Well, but what I'm
It
getting
doesn't
at
look
is
that
that,
orange, but.
just like you go, hey, are they
I saw
allowed to
it
be
too.
planting? I went, did we vote on this? Are we just
Yeah.
did somebody throw this in here without?
Yeah, originally it was,
And Robin said you did, and I went, oh, excellent, great.
originally it was, she contacted me regarding that issue, and I knee-jerk reaction said, let's put some boulders there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think
But
it was a
then,
great idea. I just wanted to make sure it
Yeah.
wasn't somebody in the neighborhood, because I'm
Someone else
across the
actually
street.
had a better idea. Repurpose the pillars that were
Yeah.
just laying
Yeah.
randomly around.
Yeah.
They now have reflectors on them. I know that's kind of.
No, it's
but-
plowing season. That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
And there are people who are in there probably at times they shouldn't be.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, what the rule is on Prius versus pillar. Who's responsible,
Yeah,
so
right.
at least there's reflectors.
Yeah.
You know?
That's good.
So I think it looks good, and I think it'll deter people from
Oh, yeah.
pulling off the road there or cutting the corner, because
Well,
they kept
and-
cutting the corner, kept
Well, you
cutting
made
it.
it curved, and going from single lane to single lane, that's a hard turn,
Yeah.
especially for some folks that have difficulty driving to,
Right.
Their departed site, so.
Ironically, while we were installing this, we had the machine with the auger to
Yeah.
drill the holes and a truck on the paved area. A woman came down the hill and tried to trespass over Walter Rainio's
Yeah.
grave.
Did
in
you
her
stop
car.
her? Did
Oh
you-
yeah, oh yeah. And she said, "I'm just on the grass," and I'm like, "Ma'am, you don't know what's under that grass.
Yeah.
You can, that's
Yeah.
a daily event."
Yeah.
So,
It's true. So and a lot of times when I go to the funerals, I try to get there before the cars get there, because when people start to pull off, I'm like, don't, because
Yeah.
you don't want cars caving in. Some of the graves don't have vaults,
Right.
and cars are very heavy.
Hey, I work here,
Yeah.
so to speak, and when I do tours looking for,
Yeah.
inspections and stuff, I have to think, where are the wheels of my truck?
Yeah,
Because sometimes you can't tell,
right.
So
Especially when you got a long bed, if you got a long bed.
Right,
You have to
yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So, if people aren't thinking about this, they just want to get
Right.
to the spot.
right.
Yeah.
And they do, like Robin says, they pull off two wheels.
Yeah.
We even have a Uber guy who stages an island on
Yes.
to get his next call, and he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's respectful, but it's like the Uber sign is glowing on his dash. This is,
He
dispatch
loves it
area.
in there.
See-
I'm like, a couple times I went up and I said, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "I just love it in here, so it's nice and peaceful." And
He is very respectful.
Yeah.
He sees us working, he'll go to a different road. He's not,
But see, this is why I say that, and we've discussed this, you have an open invitation to show up
Oh, yeah.
anytime,
yeah,
even calling and reaching out. If you want to go through Robin
Yeah.
to us, that's fine too. But please,
well, thank you.
really feel like if there's something, forget you got a burr in your saddle, show up,
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
vent it. Yeah.
yeah. And he's been doing a great job covering all my weekend funerals if I'm busy. And I've got one this weekend that he's going to cover for me too. But
Got to make hay in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Get that up overtime if you can.
It is a recurring business.
yeah, and so we've been extremely busy. We're up to 120 something burials right now.
Wow.
So we're up over 20 since last year we hit 100. The year before was at 80. So it's just steadily inclining back up. So unfortunately for people, but anyways, we know, Jim, you're super
Yeah.
busy.
Anything else?
Anything else you want to discuss?
Concerns?
Well, one thing I would like to bring up, and that is, I've spoken with Kyle, who's the vehicle maintenance manager
Okay.
Okay.
at the highway department, and obviously, it's no secret, the mowers that we utilize in the cemeteries take a fair amount of abuse. It is not ideal mowing conditions, and they have a lifespan that's traditionally a lot less than someone who mows the ball fields or, someone's lawn. His budget, due to the rising cost of everything, what he's responsible for, doesn't really have much room to replace the mowers like traditionally it did. So I talked to him about it, and is there a way that could be addressed by the cemetery commission and your budget?
Yeah, so you remember when we all met at Evergreen? That's what
Right.
Steve was getting
Right.
at, was
Right.
a wish list from you guys.
How much is a mower?
They've also gone up. I'm gonna, off the top of my head, I'm gonna say town price is approximately $10,000 per mower. And they have a lifespan that we've found of 4 to 5 years
Yeah,
before you are replacing major components that are almost half the cost of a replacement mower.
so would it be a transfer from me to Kim, or would it be,
That that's a question that is above my
Yeah.
capacity to answer properly, but,
So I'm sorry, in the past, is this, a town meeting where we have to approve fire engines and things which are very expensive?
Yeah.
Is this something that has to be a line item at
I don't
town
think
meeting?
it does, because
Because
it's
it's a-
$10,000.
it hasn't up to this point to my
Yeah.
knowledge, because it may become that way because they're creeping up.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
When I first started, a brand new mower was less than $6,000.
Right.
Town cost. Now, I think the last one I got was in 2019, and it was a 7,400. But now, with supply issues and inflation and everything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're between 9 and 10. But once they push that 10 mark, I don't know that.
Yeah.
You know.
And maybe it's something I have to discuss with Link or with Joe.
Well, yeah, probably. So when we had this conversation over at Evergreen, Steve was asking if there is a newer technology that would make it easier. Now, I guess at a place like Island Pond where it's like, and I think that's where he was going because he used to do golf course maintenance over at Captain's Course. Is there a better technology for you that,
Or just the regular mowers.
everybody can
Yeah.
drive,
Right.
a Volkswagen Beetle and you still get from A to B,
Right.
and we could have kept 70s technology.
Right.
But there's better ways to do it. But at some point you go, yeah, it's not worth spending an extra 20 grand for the
I
bang
think
for the
maybe
buck,
A flock of goats would be helpful
Hey,
for grazing pasture land. Really,
Right.
we've over the years, just the mowers, we've wound up with a style of mower that seems to last the most, it's the most robust,
see,
hardy.
that's,
Yeah.
So
right.
I haven't, they're like little miniature tanks, but even they have an Achilles heel, which is all the sand and dust, which eats away at the deck.
Yeah.
So you're replacing decks, which are several $1,000s
Just for the deck.
just for the deck. It's basically probably, I don't know, a third to half the cost of a whole new mower.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's what we found, and that's what goes first. Just that I've noticed I don't know what causes it, but a tremendous amount more dust now than ever before.
I think it's it's 8 years of drought. I mean, we're still
Oh, but
down.
Island Pond is sand.
I know, but it used to be,
Evergreen
a lot of it used to be
East is
moss,
sand.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's-
some vegetation and ground covering seems to have just not there anymore.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know, so there's a lot more dust.
I'm actually looking at alternative ground covers for Jim, especially in the enclosed areas. So when we went to the conference, they did a whole thing on ground covers for different, and it showed, Mount Auburn showed what they do, because they have a lot of raised enclosures. So to get their mowers, they were pretty much weed whacking all those ones individually. So they have a lot of low growing ground covers that I'm going to look into. I'm going to start with a couple. There's a couple in Mount Pleasant that are enclosed, and some in Island Pond that are enclosed. So we're going to try to, with my AmeriCorps member, we'll probably try to strip it and then plant some of the little ground covers in there and see how they do. Hopefully they'll take off. We'll have to do it early spring.
Okay.
And we have, also in the packet is AmeriCorps is looking for group service projects for us to submit, so we could, do you have any
You have a lot of
suggestions?
acreage of planting. You're going to need a machine to do that.
Yeah, no, these aren't.
Slice your
it's-
cedar
yeah.
or something, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's not that. So the other thing is we probably want to use them. And you guys did a great job over at North Harwich doing the lot line between
yeah.
us and Robert Ours. And I have to tell you, Alan Hall called me. He was very thankful. So we still have to get somebody out there to survey that lot line and maybe plant some. I think we should just do the Leyland cypresses because they did so well
Fast
at
growers.
Evergreen,
Yeah.
and it just to block it, because we don't know down the pike that could be another way into their pit.
Right.
And I mean, it would look horrible next
Right.
to the cemetery. So we want to make kind of a nice vegetated hedge that will be year round
Right.
there.
So, mowers, does that come under our budget or Link's budget?
So it normally
or-
would come under links, but I think that we could probably ask. I know we're only allowed to spend $100,000 within our cemetery revolving account, but we could ask if we could transfer some of that money to the DPW to defer the cost.
Yeah, because these mowers are not just ours.
Right.
So, I mean, this has to be shared pain, so to speak.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely, I don't see a reason why
Yeah.
some of our money shouldn't go to this, because
Yeah. Right.
I mean, we have a lot of acreage that
Yeah.
these mowers that also then do town properties and
Yeah, and they
Not
do all
schoolyards,
the
they're not the golf course mowers. They do their own thing and they
Yeah.
come over and do the ball fields.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say at this point in time, the way things have been operating at the DPW, the cemetery mowers probably spend about 90%, 85-90% of the time in cemeteries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back 2 or 3 years, we also, myself and my former partner, we were doing the town buildings as well with these mowers. But now, just due to staffing, and the staffing has not increased in the cemetery department, as you're
Oh, yeah.
well aware of,
Yeah.
we've been able to focus more on the cemeteries with myself and
Okay.
my partner. But it's just something that I wanted to bring up because obviously Kyle.
It has to get, no, that,
Oh.
you want to stay ahead of
Yeah.
something like this and then suddenly find ourselves in the middle of July,
Right.
rapid growing season, and you're down 2 mowers and,
And they take time to get as well.
Right.
Like getting a new car, you can't just go
Right.
typically and get one tomorrow. It may be months
So
out.
there's one other topic before Jim leaves that I want to talk about is Bank Street Cemetery.
okay, well, hang on, before we
Okay.
get to that. So can we get a proposal
Yeah.
from you and Link as to what would work, what you'd like, what you need?
Okay.
And then we can then address it, because we'll have to make a motion and
Yeah, yeah.
vote
Right.
on it just to transfer. And we just want to make sure that the not legality, but the method of doing that
Yeah.
transfer is appropriate. You know, the way funds come down to
Yeah.
us and to them, and
Absolutely.
Well, it's for the.
That's not
so
my
the-
field at all,
Yeah,
yeah.
so the revolving account was set up for care and maintenance of the cemetery, so this is definitely care and maintenance of the cemetery. So I think it's within its scope that when it was made for us to do this. So I would just have to talk to Joe or Link to see how.
the best way to do it,
Yeah,
yeah.
the best way to do it.
So can we do it that way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll discuss it with the gentleman.
Hey, it's Christmas list.
Yeah, Christmas list. Don't tempt me, it could get long.
Tell my kids, just
It has to fit. your
give us the
stocking.
list and we'll go from there.
Stocking stuffers only.
Right.
Okay, so then the other thing is the Bank Street Cemetery. Me and Jim have had many conversations about this, and there will have to be trees removed. And we all walked it. It's very overgrown and congested in there. So we would probably have to mark the trees we want to keep, or mark the trees we want to get rid of, in order for them to install the fence. You can't install the fence right now because it is like the lot line is ridiculous.
So first off, which way to mark them?
I would prefer to have the trees that you want removed marked.
Okay.
That would be the way, because that's traditionally how we do it with the
Yeah.
gentlemen who take our trees in the cemeteries.
Okay, well, yeah, it's the language.
Okay.
What are we marking?
What do you want
Okay,
to
Okay.
remove?
mark removed, okay.
And then we would have to get a letter from, I can ask Joe if we can send the letter or if he has to send the letter to the abutters to notify them that we'll be going in there to remove trees, because they have to be notified before we do any work. And
Is there a
then,
time frame on that?
I don't know, so I'd have to find out all that information. But I mean, the tree guy's so backed up anyways, it's not like he
Okay.
could jump on it anyway. I mean, he's got a list to do. And then would go in there and he's just gonna, what do you call that machine that you kind of just do the,
Oh,
Gravely?
Yeah, Gravely
yeah.
is a brand name, but
Yeah.
that's what I refer
Yeah,
to it,
Yeah. So then he could just mow down whatever it has to be before he can go in and then install the fence.
Right.
And then he would just keep it up. And he actually likes all the ivy in there. He says it's a great ground cover for
It's
him.
very low maintenance. We
Yeah.
really only have to go in there a
Yeah.
couple times a year, which is nice.
Yeah, and I think once some of those trees in there are dead, so they drop limbs all the time. And I think once those are removed, half the leaves will be gone because it has a lot of leaves now because it's trees coming from both sides of the property
Right.
too. But I think we can get it looking pretty nice, and that'd be nice to have that done by this spring. I would think.
It'd be great.
Do you,
Yeah.
do you have
We've
any of the
never-
marking tape?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, no problem. We never got a letter to the abutters, correct?
From
the
the one
administration.
abutter who's encroaching. Is that? No,
As a
we have
town,
not. no.
okay.
So
we
they,
could
they are hiring a surveyor right now though, so once it's
wow.
hired, they can write the letter.
Oh,
So
okay,
that's
great.
in the process right now. That
So
got
we
approved.
can, we can also add the tree removal.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, the U's, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those aren't gonna affect the installation of the fence because they're up this way anyways.
roadside.
And it's not gonna affect the guy going in there from the tree company to remove the trees. So I mean, that could come after, but we need to get at least the trees tagged that we wanna, or the trees tagged that we wanna get rid of.
Right.
And then at least clean it up. Prepped for the guy to install the fence. So I mean, we could move forward on that.
So you probably need to have it resurveyed again.
There's bounds in the ground.
Oh, there's bounds?
There's bounds in the back corners, and there's one on the street. And then I don't know on her side, but
With the U's?
no, the
The
one on the
rights?
street, on the side where the Hughes
Oh, that's the one that,
He put a nail in the road. He put a nail with pink tape around it, but
Was that recent? Because I
No,
remember
no.
several years ago, and I don't believe there's any way to find it anymore. It's been
well, I
gone
could with
over.
my metal detector. I mean, it's a stake. It's a metal pin
The asphalt.
in the asphalt. Yeah.
I don't recall seeing bounds. I'll have to take your word on it. I remember it
Well,
was staked by the generator.
Yeah, there's the
Um,
bounds in the corners that are marked. And I think those are still in there too. And because the abutter, I met the lady who owns the property behind that, and she was a little concerned because she had planted some little shrubs, like kind of right on the lot line. I said, well, we probably wouldn't put the fence right on the lot line, and he should probably come in a little bit. She goes, well, if I have to move them a few inches, but she showed me the bounds. She was like, this is this bound and that's that bound, and she walked me over to them. Yeah, so they're there, but we got to clean that up and get that finished.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we can all go over and mark trees
Yeah,
anytime.
yeah.
And you need that before the Gravely, so to speak?
It's. I think it's. I mean, I think depending on when you want the trees removed, I drove by. It's not too difficult for them to go in there now.
Yeah.
Or whenever.
Yeah.
You know, it was mowed in the late summer, early fall last time.
So which would you rather have? The trees down first or trees down first and then?
Yeah, it's gonna make a mess.
And then Gravely,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, if a Gravely is needed until springtime, I don't know. You know what I mean? I'll take another look at it, but it didn't look like it needed any type of mowing at this
Okay.
point.
Okay. All right, well, we'll put that on the agenda to make sure that we have that done. And I will find out about getting a letter to the abutters. So we're not gonna send a letter to the abutters till we mark the trees. Cause then they have to go and look and see what trees were taken out, so then they know.
Okay.
We can say, we were in there, we marked these trees that have tape on them will be removed. Which I also think we should take photographs of once we do it,
Absolutely.
because sometimes then people remove the ribbons.
Remove the ribbons. They don't
Yeah.
like that idea.
Yeah,
Especially the homeowner on the right when you're facing the cemetery who likes to dump
yeah,
lawn clippings.
Spray paint.
yeah. We could spray paint them.
Depending on timing, that works. Otherwise, it fades away with
Okay.
the rain and
All
sleet
right.
and snow. Just washes it away.
Okay.
I don't know, I got some spray paint that I can't remove.
Well, yeah. Or we could do a little of both. You know, but I think photos are definitely a
Photos
Yeah,
are
oh,
a
we
must,
will,
yeah.
yeah, we'll
Good
get it all
idea.
documented, so.
Right.
We'll have Robin on speed dial for you when they're over there doing that.
I've never,
That's a cow.
I've never had any poor
Communications,
experiences
yeah.
over there, but it could happen
It
when
could
the
happen.
tree company's in there climbing trees because
Right.
they're not going to be able to drive their their bucket truck in there, because who really knows what's underground? There's the one gravestone.
It's just the one gravestone, yeah.
But some people have told me while we've been working there that there's dozens in there.
Oh.
I don't know if that's an urban legend, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have you
Yeah, I
been
don't
there
know
with the
it.
radar?
You wouldn't be able to though, there's so many trees, there'd be so many tree roots, it would be difficult
Right.
to be able to
Yeah.
distinguish between the tree roots or a burial, especially if the burial's over a couple hundred years old,
Right.
Right,
which is probably what it is.
there's only the one stone with
Yeah.
just initials
So,
on it.
I mean, the fallback has got to be treating it as sacred ground.
Yeah.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, trees down, grave lead, fence up.
It's a little awkward when we're in there because the townspeople go by and think, why is the town mowing someone's side yard?
Yeah.
I've been questioned.
Well, we gotta
on
get a
that
sign
before.
for it
Well,
too.
Yeah.
we had discussed that we should might as well just get that going right now.
Okay. I'll get a proposal
And
for a
it's-
smaller one, not as large as the regular ones.
Yeah, well, yeah,
It's.
right, it would be
yeah,
too
yeah, okay.
intrusive on the
Overpowering,
neighborhood.
Yeah. All right, I will get together a proposal, send it out for the next meeting for you guys to approve.
Okay,
Great.
I don't even know do you obviously know the name of the individual buried there? 'Cause-
I have the initials, so what I've been doing is doing research on everyone who owned houses in the perimeter.
Okay.
Because usually it's what happened, is you used to be able to bury in your yard,
Right.
and it's usually somebody who owned the property, and they buried there, so, no, I haven't gotten it down to an
Yeah,
exact. But we're hoping.
Okay,
Yeah, there's burials all over town like that, so,
right.
unfortunately. All right, Jim, well, thank you for coming.
No, thank
Yeah.
you for having me. Hope it was somewhat helpful.
Definitely.
like I said, you've always got a seat.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to these.
Yeah, I'm sure, and and
Rules
Pete,
going into effect.
Pete wants to come over too. I mean, we'd love to get his input as well, so.
Yeah, perfect.
All
Come
right,
as a
thank
team.
you.
Thanks.
Thank you
We
very much.
thank you
Free
for all
donuts.
you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim. That was good. That was good productive discussion.
Yeah.
Great.
All right, so the next item is Jan Moore on the CPC articles.
Yep, so I went before the CPC on the 8th. And I it's in the back of the packet, I probably should have put it up further if you want to, and I think I stapled them for you.
This one and
I
this
had
one.
two, yeah, so I did
Okay.
two PowerPoint presentations at the meeting. First, I talked about the Revolutionary War memorials and told them where I got all my research information from. Then I put up a couple of the prominent ones. This guy, John Dillingham, is buried at the Dillingham Cemetery in Brewster. And then I talked about Alicia Berry. And so then I'm pulling now all their pension files just to cross-confirm everyone's. So he retired to Vermont, but in his pension files it says that he served in the town of Harwich in the county of Barnstable, which confirms all of the information above, which just makes it clear, cut, and dry. So I'm trying to do that with every single veteran's name that's going on the memorial, so that way we don't have any issues. This is just Nathan Cahoon's, and then we have 146 Civil War soldiers. So we had, how many Revolutionary War soldiers we had? Did I not put that in there?
Revolution was 284, Civil War
Okay.
146.
Okay, perfect. I was like, I thought I put that in there. So we have more, obviously, Revolutionary War because the town was bigger. So then at the end, I just put information for them. And at the end, which I've been doing a lot of research and I've been talking to Shawnee and to Greg, who's in charge of all the veterans things down here, who's also a member of the veterans post in Hyannis. So we're trying to draft letters. So now I have contact information for all the veterans groups that are located on the Cape and Islands. And we'll be reaching out to them as well as some Howard residents and Brewster residents. And their main concern about this was, is Brewster kicking in any money for this memorial? Because half of the names are from Brewster. So I said, we'll be reaching out. We're going to be trying to, I think we have to go before the Board of Selectmen because these are going to be considered gifts to the town, the donations. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get on their agenda so that we can get that organ object, make the flyer for us to distribute to all of these agencies.
Okay, so wait, are we talking Brewster now or what?
Everybody. So for
What was the part with the selectmen?
so we go before the Board of Selectmen to accept gifts. So say you wanted to give me $1,000 towards deferring the cost of the Veterans Memorial or the Veterans Circle, whatever, anything that's happening over there. We need to have an organ object, and because some of the denominations are going to be larger than a normal, whatever, $10, it's considered a gift to the town. So it has to be set up like a gift account. So they're giving it to the town specifically for the Veterans Circle or the Veterans Park, which I'm calling it, for this particular purpose. So I want to make a flyer that reflects that. BSC Group is going to be doing 3D renderings of both the, they're on the agenda too. It's under veterans.
Right.
Yeah. So they're doing, I contacted him yesterday. He's just not finished. I really was hoping he could get it to us today, but he doesn't have it. So that we could have printed material to show people what it's going to look like. And that was one of the questions they asked. They said, we see that in your application, you're showing us these pictures of these memorials, but it's just an outline. Do you have a rendering of that? And I said, I do not, but we're in the process of getting one. So I'm going to go back before the CPC when I have all that information just to,
So
because
that
they haven't
CPC asked that question.
the CPC did ask that question,
Okay.
which you've asked that question as well. So I'm glad that they're going to be.
Well, we did. We had
Yeah.
the sketch.
Yeah.
But it
But
wasn't.
it wasn't like a real rendering.
Right, and I get visual learners want to
Yeah.
see
Everything.
what's this going to look like.
Right.
And it's just going to be a 10
Mm-hmm.
by 10, and you're going to
Right.
spend thousands on it. No,
Yeah.
it's
So
way bigger than that.
yeah. So he's going to get us something for that as well. Then most of the discussion was over the North Harwich fence post and rails, and she thought the fence was in great shape. One of the commissioners. So what I'm going to go back out there and do is I am going to walk like I did when I did the evergreen one, and I'm going to name each rail section 1, section 2, section 3, section 4. In section 1, all the rails are good. Section 2, 2 and 3 are need to be repaired. So I'll do that this week, and then resubmit a revised plan for her because she wants to know why we're using so much pipe, and she didn't think that that the fence was in that rough of a shape. So I just wanted to be crystal clear as to why we need so much pipe and to where the pipes will be installed in the fence. It'll make it clearer too when we go out to bid because we have to get 3 bids on it anyways. So I'm just gonna do that and clarify that for her. But and I also just put, when that was approved by us as well as the Historic Commission. So I just want to make sure that we have all of our information into them. So, because they're going to be cutting different, because a lot of people going in for historic funds this year. So we have the Brooks Academy Museum is going for funds, and now the old firehouse, which is on Bank Street, are also going for historic funds as well. And then us. So I think, and I don't know if there's anyone else, but so that's 4. And I know that they're asking for, I think it's $350,000 for the fire station, and I think it's, I don't know, a lot for Brooks Academy. I can't remember the exact total, but it's a significant amount of money. So I just want to make sure that they have all of our information in there. And I did tell them that once we set up this fund, as we get funds in, we can let them know what the contribution will be from that fund to defer the cost of the Veterans and Civil War memorials.
Okay.
Okay?
So along those lines, I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
I was going to say, along those lines, can we skip ahead then to item F?
Yeah.
So speaking of that,
Go ahead.
so what did Anne Marie come up with?
Anne Marie,
For us.
when I talked to her, she said that she was positive that it had to go before the Board of Selectmen. And once it goes before
Hang on a second. What has to go before the board of
us
selectmen?
requesting the Board of Selectmen to allow us to set up an account to receive funds.
Okay, gotcha.
So, I think that's in here though. That's Anne Marie under.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
why I
this
said
F.
let's skip
Okay,
ahead.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, she's gonna,
So I read your package before I come.
We do.
I thought it was other business.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That was under regular correspondence. I think what I just need to do is request that we be included in the next packet that they make so that we can have them set up an account for accepting donations to defer the cost of that.
Okay.
All right?
And that has to go before the meeting, or can it be just a letter to the selectmen?
It's going to be electmen, and then I'll go and explain it. I'll go to the meeting and I'll say why we want it.
Okay.
I'm sure they're gonna say yes. They always say yes to any gifts to the town. I mean, it just defers the budget stuff.
Oh, sure. And I.
And
Just
actually,
the fact that we say the Pledge of Allegiance before a selectmen meeting, I don't think there's going to be any pushback
yeah,
on setting up this memorial.
right,
You know, they seem favorable every time I've seen it mentioned.
right. So and it just plus it'll give more people just going before the meeting. More people will know about it, and then they'll people might be like, wow, geez, I would like to contribute to that. Or
Did she explain? Months ago, you told me that it was because she said that it's because it's a gift to the town. It's tax free.
so.
We need that in chapter and verse.
Okay, so we want to find out.
Well, even so, donations. I don't know if you do your own taxes.
Yeah.
I hate doing mine. I mean, you used to be able to deduct all of your donations,
Right.
And now you're limited to $300 per person, husband, wife
Right.
type donations. So $600 a year, if I remember correctly. So, being a whatever the code is, 501c, 531c,
Yeah.
whatever it is not as big a deal. But if a gift to the town for something like this, I mean, does this offset your taxes? Can it offset your taxes?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, what?
I think we'd have to talk to a tax guy, and maybe I can talk to my tax guy. and
Well,
find
no. I mean, the town should be able, I would
Oh,
think,
okay.
to say, yes, if somebody, but if it's just a donation out of the goodness of your heart,
Yeah.
which is really what we are at.
So I
now,
have
which
like
is-
5 forms from other towns that have done memorials that accepted gifts, and on their forms, what it says on there. So we could put that on the agenda for the next meeting to you guys to just review. And then, because our next meeting's gonna be quick, because this one's later. So the first, Tuesday in January is gonna
You're
come.
jinxing it.
It's gonna come
Something
quick.
will come up.
Will come quicker than you know.
Right. Well, I guess what I'm getting at is there may not be a tax advantage to donations.
Right,
Some,
yeah,
but I think we should still have that in place in case the tax code changes.
okay,
So it's all said, we don't have to go revisit this. It's,
okay.
we soliciting donations for the Veterans Memorial. Thank you very much. Here's a receipt.
Yep.
And in accordance with Harwich bylaws, Massachusetts tax law, federal tax code, this donation is fully tax deductible. or
Okay.
Whatever. Just some people. Well, I'll give you an example. Some people on that other end of the spectrum that may be willing to sponsor a great deal of
Yeah.
this, they itemize their deductions on alternate years, which permits them to take bigger deductions for certain items. And
Yeah.
now some things are limited, like charitable deductions, but
Yeah.
there's ways around things like that. So
Okay.
that's why I just would like to see it,
Okay.
how it's going to play out. Okay, so that's F. All right, moving backwards to D, Wendy Tulloch with the budget report.
Yeah, so this is just, she gives us the report, so I just put them in here. It just talks about what I deposited into lot sales, what goes into the cemetery trust, and then it talks about the water bills. Then Then it talks about purchases that we had made, which is, it just talks about Village Green. They did that Memorial, then Crosby, All Cape Fence, and then Feral Electric. So these are all things that came out of different accounts. So I just like you guys to have these, all of the different balances, and then the new total there. This is the total that in the cemetery revolving account is the second to last page. But then I have mine.
So that's the revolving is 109?
Yeah,
That's, okay, and the cemetery trust, that is the,
the trust account is where we put the funds go into. That's perpetual care.
that's perpetual care. And where is the balance on that?
This doesn't give that balance,
Okay.
but it's 400, and I can get that from.
No, I was just
Yeah, I'll get that from Amy though.
curious.
Yeah.
Since
So I
that
actually
was the
did
first thing we
I
discussed
did
today.
my version of this, which is not the whole year. This is this
This page in the back here?
this fiscal year. And this talks about all, so I break it down like this. Revenues, administration fees, markout fees, any lot returns, expenses, anything that we've spent, what's going into PC, and then our balance. So then, if you come down.
So 4720 was deposited into PC, perpetual care. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, so if you go to the last page, though, it just breaks it out.
Right.
So, 42,480 was from lot sales. $4,900 was from administration fees. $2,100 was monument markouts. So total deposited in addition to this was 49,480. So she's kind of a little bit behind. So they're a month behind me.
Okay,
So our total in there is 118,483.26
revolving.
revolving.
Well, see this, just though the number next to that 4720,
Yeah.
when we come back to Amy
Yep.
and the perpetual care,
Mm-hmm.
we have to have a means in there for recurring deposits,
Right.
which would be a money market fund aspect of
Okay.
that. So we will
Right.
have, it's just like your checking account,
Right.
your paycheck goes in there, so you have your money market, then we're gonna have hopefully investments and CDs and.
So yeah, so
Okay.
this final, the 4,720 that's just from July to today. So all of these numbers are from July till today.
Okay,
It's kind of like a quarterly.
that's a hard thing to do, so thanks for doing that. Well, it is to.
Well, I like to.
Track the nickel and dimes.
Yeah, so I do a report usually every year on growth on different things, and one is how much more lot sales we're making, and how many more markouts are we doing, and how many more administration fees. And their accounting, everything goes into one account, and I like to break it out so that way I can track it from year to year.
Well, yeah, I think you should be doing that.
Yeah.
I think.
It's easier for me to do it this way, and then I just cross-reference and check our balance with mine to make sure I'm not missing anything, or she's not.
Job security.
Yeah.
That's how you justify that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for doing all those crunching of numbers. So an email from Michael Andronovich from AmeriCorps.
Yeah,
Well, that was interesting.
So he is reaching out to us because he wants to encourage all the partners to submit proposals for early spring, March and April projects. Because not a lot of people did March and April projects. So that's like when I was discussing the alternative ground covers in some of the cemeteries, we could put that in. Also, if we get smaller Leyland cypresses and we purchase those all in a day, they would plant them.
Oh, very
So I
good.
mean, so just different projects. So I wanted to put it in there. So if you guys drive around or you think of any other projects that they could do, then you could just let me know so I can put them in and we can move forward.
One thing I did think of, and we ought to be able to do it now, is some landscaping around the, what are you calling it, the kiosk at Evergreen?
At Evergreen, okay.
You know, the speaker's kiosk. There's another name for it. Sorry, I'm having a senior moment here.
The gazebo?
The gazebo, thank you.
Okay, so we'll look at
sounded better.
Just slap me right. Cindy just hits me right here. It works out good.
plantings. All right, so we'll look at some
Something
plantings.
just to beautify it a little, yeah.
So I think it was last month or the month before, me and Dory went to Agway, because everything at the end of the season is so cheap. They're just trying to give it away, because I don't want to maintain it for the winter. We bought a whole bunch of different plantings to place at Island Pond, and they were all, it's like $200. But we got 2 white lilac bushes that we had, well, they're gonna be.
But they require pruning big time, yeah.
So we're putting those we put those at the children's lot, which was
Okay.
barren.
Yeah.
And then we planted some low stuff to go right around the memorial. And then we planted a walnut tree, with a significant size walnut tree. And we got something else. I can't remember what other plantings we got, and then we just planted them that day.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm always thinking photo op, and you know, so when we eventually can have ceremonies
Yeah,
at Evergreen,
yeah,
so I picture the audience, you know, around the circle,
yeah,
Right.
facing the gazebo,
yeah.
and it would just be nice to have that in a tiered, you know, some azaleas that are low, and at the right time of year they're flowering. and-
Yeah. We'll probably look at what's really a good vegetation to have for Veterans Day, because that's where our Veterans Day services will be moved to.
Well, it's November, it was nothing.
There's still stuff.
So it should be evergreen,
Yeah,
because your lilies are gone, your.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do other stuff when we have the
Well, it's, I mean,
dedication.
azaleas are
Yeah.
evergreen,
Yeah.
you know, there are
Yeah.
other evergreen, you know, rhodie can get too big, but.
Yeah.
You know,
You
there are
can
some
dwarf
small
ones.
conical,
Yeah,
that cypress, or whatever, I forget what it's called, Alberta spruce,
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
compact.
Yeah.
But whether they do well, and I think they do well, because that's a pretty arid location.
yeah,
Without sprinklers.
right.
But I know, that's,
And we do have the wells there,
That
so
has to
that
be a budget
if we
item because
if we
we're-
watered it,
oh, that's true, yeah.
it wouldn't be a significant amount. We're not paying for town water because we already have the well. So,
Right.
I mean, we don't get a real hefty bill. We only pay the Eversource, which is, I think the
So
most it's ever been was like $20. So, I mean, and people water in there all the time. So
That'd be an interesting,
Yeah.
I think,
Okay.
project.
Okay.
Small, short, quick.
all right.
And I think at that time of year, the mums were out, right?
Oh, and mums, right, so
we
it's a
could-
planting,
We could
yeah.
get some mums and put them in there. I actually bought some from Christmas Tree Shop one year, left them in the pots out of the way, and they came back
Wow.
and blossomed just as nice as they were the year before.
Oh, really?
Oh.
I don't know if they all do that.
Well, so that would be some low
Yeah.
greenage, and
Right.
then we'd
We'd
have
get
some
the-
flowers.
Yeah, get them done just before that and
Okay, that's a
that'd
great
be
idea.
nice,
Um,
colorful.
Any other current business?
I think so.
No, I don't think so.
Steve ever chime in? No? Okay, so then we're gonna move on to old business, update to the revolving account, we think we just covered
Yeah,
that.
we just covered that.
Just covered that. Veterans Memorial Circle,
So we're waiting just for the plans for the.
okay, so that's the plans that are coming from.
Yeah, so that we can put it out to bid. So he's gonna tell us
Designer.
exactly how many bricks, how much, where everything's gonna be placed. It'll be clear, cut and dry, and then I can send it out to all the landscape companies to get
Who's
that
doing
done.
that?
BSC Group. They're the ones who originally designed the cemetery, yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, the software bid for Evergreen,
So I wanted to ask you, I didn't put it out because I need to know a date. So I didn't want to just put a date on there without asking you guys, when do you want the bids back? So usually you give 2 weeks or 3 weeks and then we open the bids. So we could open them I mean, I could open them with somebody else could come with me, but they have to be opened at town hall at a certain date and time. So I didn't want to do it now because everyone's away for Christmas, so I didn't know if anyone was gonna be around to do it.
Spool me back up here a second. So this is the same thing that we did at Island Pond.
Right, so
And we can't use him because the
No,
price was,
you can,
But it has to be
we
rebid.
have to put it out to bid.
right,
And then you get 3 or 4 different bids.
right.
And those are opened, we usually open the bids all together. And then we write down all the criteria, and they have to fit all the criteria.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody could bid lower, but they're not doing everything. So you have to make sure that they are fulfilling all of the, requirements of the bid, and then you award it.
So when would you like this?
I think sometime in January. I just didn't want to do it during December because I didn't think anybody would be around.
Right.
So, and they're gonna be taking photographs, so we really don't have to do it right now because, I mean, they could start indexing and doing all the other stuff, but I don't want them photographing in the
So that's
winter time.
post-award, right.
Yeah,
But just to get the bids out and
Right.
back so we can move on.
right.
So if we have a January meeting, it's not gonna be addressed. Maybe.
Oh, no, it won't be addressed. It'll probably be addressed
So we
in
would be
February.
addressing it in February.
Right.
Approving, picking
Right.
the company. So
Right.
let's just,
Second week?
that they have to be back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, what works for you for processing all of that and making sure that we
Yeah,
have
it's just hard because
And
when
with the
we're doing
holiday season, that's not
we're doing the
fair to-
we're doing the packet for the first week. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of work.
Right.
And then
It's like
maybe
asking
the third
teachers
week.
for
How
input
about the
during
third
school
week?
vacation.
Third weekend.
Yeah, and then that way we have time to get it into correct format for our February meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that process? All right. Town meeting articles, rules and regulations, CPC articles, North Harwich. Okay, well,
We've covered most.
we
of those.
covered CPC and we
Yeah, so
covered the North Port, the rails.
I just want to go over this. So I had Elaine who does a lot of the stuff for the town.
So this
meeting.
is the rules we're talking
Yeah.
about. Right,
So
okay.
she helped us with a little bit of the formatting and stuff that legally she thinks needs to be in there. She doesn't want us to, so I just had to go through. So we have to put at the bottom, adopted and effected from the day the first rules were made, which I believe it was close. I don't have the exact date. So right now it just says XX 1949. So I am going to find out when they were first
I
initiated.
thought you had already Xeroxed that once.
I did. So what I have is when we edited all the rules, but we need to find out the very first day rules were ever made. And I know that the commission was started, I believe, in 1943 was the first time the cemetery commission was went to town meeting to establish 3 members and all that stuff. So
next year's our 80th anniversary.
So what I want to do is I want to get the exact, she says we want the exact date, and then it's going to as amended it and as amended again. And then the effective date of the town meeting. So the town meeting could go 1 to 2 days. So she says, don't put a date in there until you know when it went. And then it was revised at our meeting, and she wants the revision date here.
Okay, so we really should vote on the blue ink.
Yeah, so I don't,
Because
so that's,
the way we had our public hearing
right,
on the meeting. There were recommendations, which, truth in lending, I went home
yep,
and so starting on,
it's 11.
it's not a page number, but it's cemetery regulations, item 1, interments.
What's the bottom of the page? No.
It doesn't say.
How come, yes, isn't that page? I photocopied this from this.
I just-
Cut it off?
Yeah, I got cut off. So you're on page what, 11?
I'm on 11.
All right, so anyway, it's.
So which one are you?
So it's section 4, Harwich Cemetery Commission Rules and Regulations, item B. That's the first place that I made a change, or.
Okay.
I-
So that's page 7.
Right, so it's page,
It's so weird.
It's just the way
I
the
ca-
it's just where the page was in the machine.
Okay, all right.
All right, so, following the hearing,
Right,
the public hearing, we had some internal discussions at the table. And then I just wrote drafts and shot that out to everybody for diction,
Right.
spelling, wording. And that is the blue section
correct.
for our home viewers in the rules and regulations in the packet. And then
So it's on
do these
page-
need to be read out loud for people that may not have it? I mean, I'll be more than happy to.
Yeah.
So what we did, item D, I added a reference to the Mass General laws. And then per our discussion there, item E, all modifications or changes to inscriptions on existing monuments must receive the prior approval of the Harwich Cemetery Administrator, and that's also cross-referenced with section B3E, which is pages ahead.
Right,
And then item F, pursuant to Mass General Law, Part 1, Title 16, Chapter 114, Section 43N, failure to comply with this section will result in a $300 fine, and that was per our discussion.
right,
So the Massachusetts General Law permits a fine for violation of this.
Yeah.
And the historical part of this discussion was that people were going in and illegally burying cremains
Right.
and then saying, oh, by the way, monument maintainer, could you put in the death date for our family? And this was all being done without anybody's knowledge, and that's just wrong.
yeah.
Robin has to be notified, the administrator has to be notified. So,
Well, in any modifications to a monument, I told the story about how we had a Mary Nickerson in Evergreen.
it
And
was
the
the
name,
wrong one.
they went over to the wrong Mary Nickerson memorial and engraved her end date, and she was still alive, so. We wanna make sure we flag the monument so that they are
Yeah,
engraving the correct monument
Right.
and not going into the cemetery.
And like I said, I mean, when it comes to rules, we shouldn't need stop signs.
Yeah,
But we had to put stop signs in because people kept hitting into each other.
Yeah.
So this is clearly this is not a one-off type of problem that
Right.
you run into. So now it's in print.
Yep.
And I had made the argument that, well, we could do $100 fine, but that's exactly the cost to notify you.
right,
So that would entice somebody that is unscrupulous to maybe try and get away with that.
Right.
So it has to be punitive, and so I suggested a tripling, and everybody was in
Yeah.
agreement. And then item G, at the present time, the Harwich cemeteries do not have a designated section for scattering cremains. Until an area is so designated, the scattering of ashes cremains is expressly prohibited.
Yeah.
So that was not in print, that was brought to our attention,
Right,
so now.
right.
So then we skipped, that was page what?
that was
So now
7.
we need to go to page 11. So now we are in the cross-reference to what I was just blabbing on about. So this is item 2, cemetery lots. Item 3, markers, headstones, and monuments. Moving on down to 2 new sections, E and F. Section E, all modifications or changes to inscriptions on existing monuments must receive the prior approval of the Harwich Cemetery Administrator. And then this cross-references backwards to reference section 4B1E. And then just below that is the exact same paragraph. Pursuant to Mass General Law, yada, yada, yada. Failure to comply with this section will result in $300 fine. Monumental masons and installers are encouraged to take note. So they're kind of our first line of defense, and we asked them to play nicely with the administrator. And So,
Those were the modifications, yeah.
Cynthia, can I have a motion to approve those amendments?
Yes, I make a motion to accept the modifications to the rules and regulations.
So Steve's not here, so I'm going to second it, and since
Okay.
it's only the two of us, which is legally a quorum, which
Yeah.
is why Robin hired me. So that passes to nothing.
Unanimous.
And we know where Steve
Yeah,
thinks on this too.
Thank you for doing that too.
Oh, sure, that was
Great.
easy to spit out.
Well, it's been a lot of headaches and all. You put a lot of work
And
into it.
I've given them now
I
to,
type, you fix. It's a symbiotic relationship.
And I've given those new draft rules out to Dana DaCosta and to all the members over at the DPW, and all, everyone's been reading them over, and I haven't had one complaint from anybody about anything that's in there. So I'm excited, and when we had the public hearing, only 3 people showed up. We're going to have another public hearing because we have to, because we modified it.
Right.
And which I think should also be in either January or
I
February.
think we should set a January date.
January date.
Yeah, let's not let this snowball.
Yes.
And I know the selectman chair, they're on top of stuff like that because of what was
Okay.
going on with the cranberry bogs and the education fund, and that they let it get away from them. So let's not let this get away from us, because this is how many years in the works now?
Yeah.
Since I
Yeah.
joined.
Yeah. All right, so
Over
I
to-
will set up a January date for that. I'll see when we can get into the Griffin room, because we're
Yeah.
gonna have to be there.
And do we want an evening, or we want to keep the same afternoon? I don't know what works best. No school vacation, so it has to be mid to late January, no holidays,
Yeah,
a nice vanilla
Okay.
day.
mid to late.
Yeah.
What time do you wanna do it?
I got to err to your judgment on that.
What did we do before? Was it?
It was an afternoon.
It was
or
early, it was 1 o'clock.
Like 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or after lunch.
It's fine by me.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Cause it's, anyone can log in.
Right.
So if someone was working and hadn't,
and they can submit a written,
they can.
right?
Yep, so
Which we will
when
read,
when we give the notice, it says you can send any questions or concerns in writing to the commission before the date, so.
Perfect.
Okay. And we already discussed the Bank Street Cemetery?
Yep.
Okay, so that's there. Any other old business?
No, I don't think so. Actually, I do have one old business.
Okay,
On the Freitas deed that I typed originally, I transposed the number 89 and it should be 98. So I'm retyping a deed, and it's a correction to the deed that was dated November 20th, 2018. I only know this because they went to put their monument in, and I noticed that it was transposed.
Do we
So,
you're gonna need that re-signed, right?
yeah, I have to have it. So I have a new deed,
Okay.
and so I called them, and I said, mistakenly transposed, which is in our rules and regulations currently, that anytime there's an error made by us, we have the right to change it. So we are changing it at this meeting, and I'll be sending them the new deed. Okay?
And that's still in the new rules.
Yeah, it's always, yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah,
Right.
stuff does happen.
Okay.
So,
Anything else, Robin, for old business?
nope, then just the, we have lots of deeds, so,
All right, well, we're getting to that. So,
Okay.
new business, bills.
Black pen or blue pen?
oh, the bills? I have blue.
I didn't bring my
This is
blue pen.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
So the bills we
I
have,
wore out my blue pen that Robin
I-
issued me.
I did all my mileage because I haven't done mileage since this fiscal year started. So I have July, August, September, October, and November. And then I have Eversource. Eversource is $8.98 for the October. And then for the November, it is $6.
And just out of curiosity, what is the electric draw from?
So it has to, the minimum is 6, but if somebody used the water, which they probably did the last month before they turned it off,
For Eversource?
yeah,
Oh, for the pump.
it's for the pump.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
And
believe
then-
it or not, it's so low compared to any of the water bills that we get. I mean, the most I think it's ever been has been
Oh, no, I was just curious
$20, yeah.
what our electric draw
Yeah.
is. And then this will automatically tie in when the lights get turned on at Veterans.
Yes,
At the new
so
Veterans
that
Park.
will, yeah, so that will be the same electrical service.
Very good. Okay.
So this is all the stuff for the mileage, because I have to put in every meeting that I go to and where I went. So my mileage for July was $58.80. For August, it was $134.40. For September, it was $92.40. October, $124.32, and November, $68.88. I would prefer if they gave me a town vehicle, so I don't have to put mileage and tires on my own car, but But I don't get one, so.
Really?
And yeah, so
So
that,
that, I'd like you guys to sign this one because it goes to me, and then I want you to sign the warrant as well.
Okay.
Okay? Only because it's got my name on it. I'd like
Right.
you to sign that sheet and then this one.
okay. So that's deeds? Or-
Oh, no,
now
that's
you have
just
deeds.
bills. Now we have
Okay.
deeds. So I've been selling a lot of lots. So we have, first one is Valerie Bell. I bought a lot in Island Pond, cremation lot. Then we had Richard and Sharon Metzer. They bought,
When you're all done signing, I'll just make a pile and sign when we're all done.
oh, I have a couple of too. I have, they bought 2 grave spaces in Island Pond. And then it was Glenn Jameson. He bought a single grave space. And then it was Zebrats. Bought in Evergreen. Mr. Tolo bought in Evergreen. And then the box bought in Island Pond. So busy.
Mhm.
Lot sales are up.
Sadly.
Well, yeah. The majority of the people who bought this month bought for need, not free need. So they needed.
For need, yeah.
Yeah, they needed it particularly for a funeral.
Well, I'm glad you tracked that because I do remember at one of the selectmen meeting, Mr. McCaskill had asked the question.
Yeah,
Is it a trend? Is it a permanent change?
yeah.
Is it a permanent uptick because of population change or popularity or whatever? So that'd be just an interesting
Yeah.
side stat to,
Yeah,
you know, is it a COVID issue?
and then we have one lot return. So they originally purchased 6 grave spaces, and they're returning. On here it says 3, but they're only returning 2 spaces. That's an error. Because a lot of them were going to be cremated now, and they didn't need all 6, so they figured they could fit them in the area. So they're returning 2. So
Interesting.
that's this.
And where is that?
This one's in Evergreen. So they had originally bought 6, and now they're
In the new section?
in the new section. Yeah.
Are you getting many returns? I don't.
No,
seem to
not-
think
no,
Maybe one a
not
month,
really.
if that. Yeah.
Yeah, not even.
Right.
I've only had 3 this year. So.
Anything else on the deeds while we're busy signing?
No, so what I did was in Island Pond, if you come in on the left-hand side as you come down the hill there, it only had 1 row of graves, but it's more than 25 feet back. So we added a 2nd row of graves for sale there. And I sold 3 of
This
these
is,
as you come down the hill.
yeah.
Kind of
but-
past you
Oh, past us.
on the left.
So between the fence at the rail trail
Yeah,
and the roadway.
yeah. There's probably, depending on where it is, anywhere from 30 to almost 40 feet. We had sold a couple grave spaces in there before for people who particularly requested. One of them, their young son died and they wanted to be on the rail trail because he loved the rail trail. Since then, I've surveyed that area and we have, I think it's altogether 20 more sites there that are available.
Oh, very good.
So I sold 3 of them this past couple weeks. One of them was for an at-need, so they were very pleased. They were very excited that they would be, because he had the gentleman who died had young children who could then come right off the bike trail.
So, well, we have a second. Can you fill us in on your adventure?
At the meeting,
Mhm.
well, it rained as usual. I think every single time I go to that conference, it always rains, which is kind of difficult because I'm always in the building outside and I have to run back and forth. It was great. They had a lot of really good speakers there. They did a lot on finance. They did a lot on cremation trends and how many. They had some guy come who's from the ICCFA, the International Cremation Society, and talking about how cemeteries are changing their lot layouts to have more cremation sections. They also talked about the majority of the country is at 60% cremation or 70% cremation, as opposed to New England, which is not. So New England is not at that. New England is much lower people are being cremated in New England, and it has to do with the fact that it has the highest Catholic population in the country. So they think that a lot of people who are traditional Catholics still, even though a lot of the Catholic cemeteries have cremation wells and stuff, the older Catholics still believe. And if you're cremated and you're Catholic, you can't separate the ashes. The ashes have to remain together. Where some people who are being cremated are, some people make some of the ashes into jewelry, or they give a little bit to each person. You can't do that in the Catholic Church. Your cremated remains have to stay together and be buried together. And they have to be either buried or interred in a wall. They can't be scattered. So I think because of that, I think a lot of people who are Catholic are still going traditional burials. So we do a lot of traditional burials here in the town as opposed to other towns when we do statistics across different areas. But
What about so going back to the trust funds?
mm-hmm.
You said you spoke with somebody?
The one guy gave, two different people spoke about differences with trust funds and with investments. Some of them did a mixed, and of course that guy was selling the mixed one because
Right, you really acknowledge that.
Yeah. So he, that's what he does.
Right.
So I think he
It's
was
his job,
a sales guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were questioning him. So they were like, well, we can't lose this money. So the money, we have to keep the principal. And if we invest, and that's what happened with Pine Grove. They invested all of their perpetual care fund into an account. And the guy charged so many fees that it was supposed to have, remember, a certain amount of money. And then when we got it, it was practically nothing.
Yeah, let me give you an example. So a good friend of mine, he was doing a side job. He's also a fellow pilot. He had a side job at a company that offered him a 401k. So he was doing work. They were making contributions to his 401k. He went back to flying, stopped working there. Within 8 months, there was no money in his 401k because the fees that they charged came out of that, and they took all of his money.
Yeah.
Their money that they contributed and his money that he contributed.
Yeah.
Out of fees. And I didn't want to get into that with Amy because
It happens.
we have to be, and that's why I'm leery of the trust, but if our hands are tied, we may just have to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're right, this is not our money.
Right.
This is our grandkids' money in Harwich.
Yeah. So as long as the principal stays whole and we can just expend the interest, and we usually don't, I've only gone after the perpetual care interest a couple times. Once when we developed Evergreen Cemetery, we used some of those funds to pay for paving and for, I believe, the water. I can't remember. So the actual roadway that we put in, I think we used from that. And then again, when we went for town meeting for the $30,000 to buy trees that were damaged by the tornado, which we still haven't planted, but we are planting on doing that.
So that's all well and good.
Yeah.
And while we want to preserve that $460,000, if I said, you know, I really trust John and Cindy, I want you to stick this in your mattress.
Yeah.
Okay, so in 100 years, we find Cindy's mattress in a storeroom and there's our $460,000. But because of inflation,
Right,
we can only now buy $230,000 worth of perpetual care.
right,
That's what's gonna happen. I mean, that's why people that just put money in their savings account and go, well, I saved all this money. Well, yeah, you got $100,000 that when my parents in the 60s thought $100,000 was a gazillion bucks.
yeah,
Today, how long would that last?
yeah,
So that's what I mean, but it's a fine balance that we've got to find the right combo that we keep up with inflation, don't lose money except the occasional, while the value may dip. If it's not in risky investments, it will come back.
yeah,
I can show you the Dow. The Dow goes like that.
yeah,
It goes like that this way, but it
yeah.
always usually goes up. I mean, even in 1929, it eventually went up. So there's a risk profile that we have to find, and I would have been one of those people at the conference going, yeah, but.
Yeah.
And so that's, we just, you know.
Yeah, some of them are pretty savvy, so.
Well, yeah.
Some of the bigger cemeteries.
Simple is better.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, you can't risk that much money. And they have millions. So
We didn't get where we are by doing really goofy things.
Yeah.
It's just what I call lazy portfolios.
Yeah,
You know, so this I just don't want this to get
right.
fritter away. I mean, we need to, I mean, I'm surprised that over the last 2 years that I've been here that
Yeah.
we've been earning nothing on this money. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if you took,
I know.
when was the last election? This is 22, the 2020 election?
Yeah.
If you took the 4 years before that,
Yeah,
just those 4 years, that perpetual care fund could have been doubled.
Yeah.
Doubled.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but
the word is fiduciary, and the fiduciary responsibility I don't think was there. I mean, whoa, holy cow. I mean, I'm certainly not pointing fingers at anybody because it's a weird, unique case. We have to save that money. It has to be preserved.
yeah,
But there's opportunity, you know, so.
And I'm glad you brought that up.
So,
Yes.
yeah, let's not let this go.
No.
Any other new business?
No.
Old business? Okay, next meeting?
Next meeting, well, we're gonna have that quick meeting with Amy, which is gonna be
Yeah, but we can,
on the 20th.
Tuesday.
on the 20th, okay.
And
Waiting on
then,
a time for that.
when is the first Tuesday of January?
The first Tuesday in January. Sorry, I'm not ICAL proficient, so it's really the 3rd. January 3rd is the first Tuesday.
Can you guys make that? Cindy, you around?
I have no idea.
No, it's-
Probably.
If not, what's the next one?
So far, well, add 7, maybe the 10th.
It'll be the 10th. I'm only saying that because I believe Monday is closed.
Right, so yeah, it's tough after the holiday.
And then
yeah.
I don't know about,
Well, the following week is the
Yeah.
Martin Luther King weekend. So maybe we should just hedge our bets and grab the 10th.
you want to do the 10th?
I mean, I think, yeah, and maybe you'll have some,
Yeah.
will you have gotten back the bid yet? The bids? What's the closing date for the bids for the software?
We're gonna do the second or third week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So, all right, well, if they're back, they're back, and if they're
Okay.
not, they're not.
All right.
All right, so January 10, and see if we can get this room. This is a nice intimate
Yeah.
space, and
I like this
we have
space.
room for guests. and
Yep.
Caleb doesn't have to wander far. and
Caleb doesn't have to go outside in the weather.
It's all about Caleb this time of year. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yes, make a motion.
What time is
And my favorite line, so moved. It is 10:29.
Great job.